Hello and welcome back to the AltFi Digital Summit. Special welcome to everyone tuning in around the world. I can see lots and lots of different countries represented in attendees, so welcome everybody. My name is Daniel Lanyon, Editor-in-Chief of AltFi. Before we get started with the next discussion, just a quick reminder that you can ask a question in the chat. And also do cast your vote in the poll section. We've got some great polls, which I believe at the moment are pretty equally split, so every vote counts. Today we are joined by Adam Dodds, CEO and founder of Freetrade. For those not familiar with Freetrade, it's a UK-based app that offers commission-free buying and selling of stocks and exchange-traded funds. Adam, I believe, is originally from Canada and a former consultant with KPMG. Adam, hello, how are things with you?
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a big day in free trade world. Yeah.
Indeed it is, yeah.
Yeah, we just went live with our latest crowdfunding round on Crowdcube. Which for non-UK people is a crowdfunding platform where our customers anybody really, can invest in private businesses. That's been the story for us kind of from the beginning, that we've kind of built this business through investment from our community rather than traditional institutional investors. But yeah, congratulations to you too, Daniel. I saw the acquisition.
Thank you.
They're going well for AltFi too, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely want to come back to the crowdfunding and sort of funding in general a bit later on. As a quick aside, I did notice sort of from checking the Crowdcube page earlier that sort of 1 million had gone through and then sort of coming back, I noticed that 1 million had already clocked up from the time when I first.
Is that coming through?
Okay.
So there's my Crowdcube app.
Yeah.
We're at just shy of 5 million right now.
Okay, fantastic.
At 1 o'clock here in London, so about an hour and a half ago. So yeah, things are going well.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So lots to chat about today, but I mean, I'd really like to sort of just kick off almost where we left off in the last session with Revolut's banking CEO Richard Davies. So just as a starter for 10, the COVID-19 crisis has obviously changed all sorts of businesses, around the world. The lasting impact, how would you describe it for fintech?
Well, lasting impact, I have no idea. I don't know. There's a lot of commentary about like what is going to happen. Is there a new normal? Is this or that? I think that there are a lot of things that could happen that could eliminate. We could have a vaccine. That vaccine from Cambridge might, or was it Oxford, might come online in a couple of months, and then we probably won't talk about this again for a while. I was just watching the old SARS stock concert in Toronto from 2000, was it 4 or something like that? So no one remembers SARS anymore, but it was a big deal at the time. That's what I hope happens. We'll see. In our space, it's really confusing because the stock market is doing really well right now, despite the fact that our economy is tanking. So hopefully the stock market's right, and they can see there's usually like a bit of a forward prediction on the economy that we are going to bounce back pretty strongly. So even though it looks terrible this quarter, when you look at the economic numbers, it's going to look amazing maybe in Q4. Mm-hmm. Like it's going to be like it's the worst quarter decline since the Great Depression, but maybe it's going to be the best quarter increase ever. So I don't really know other than that. I can tell you what's happening right now, and it has happened in the last couple of months in our space, which is just kind of explosive growth. Not every. Yeah, go on.
Could I just ask how many extra users have you onboarded, during this, say, last 2-month period? Because obviously, I think while some areas such as lending within fintech are hugely affected in a negative sense, I feel that this sort of crash in the stock market, what is it, an 11-year bull market coming to an end? It must have been a pretty good one for a lot of younger investors, looking to maybe start their portfolios, in this sort of period. Have you onboarded lots of people? Have you noticed any interesting trends there?
Yeah, I mean, the customer growth numbers is going up faster than it's ever done. Probably the more interesting stat is the same users are throwing way more money into their accounts. So I think that's a mix of the fact that they're trusting Freetrade more. So we're a relatively new broker. We're the kind of the new kids on the block, and you test the water a little bit first, and then once you come to trust the platform, then you put more of your wealth and savings there. So that's kind of a trend, and we were seeing growth, and just kind of what's happened in the markets has accelerated that. So in March, our customers put in 10 times more new cash than they did in October 6 months ago. The trading volumes are just going through the roof because a lot of people are rebalancing their portfolios. I certainly did. I did it, fortunately, back at the start of February. And I'm sitting with a lot of cash, and that's what a lot of our users are too. So it's crazy. It's like 25% or more than that is sitting in cash right now. And I think our customers are waiting for a little bit more to take advantage, because I think this kind of new bull market for the last month or so. I don't know. I'm a bit skeptical of it, but it's kind of crazy because you were talking about Revolut before this. We have more cash per user than Revolut. Like we're more of a bank than the challenger banks in terms of how much cash is being held in an average account right now, as far as I understand, based on media reports. But so I think that's really interesting that people are stashing their cash in a brokerage account.
Could we just talk about the average customer, because I'm sure that'd be really interesting for the viewers. So who are they? How old are they? How much do they typically have in their account?
So an average customer is a London male guy that probably works in a professional field or something. That was kind of our early adopter. We've started to see that kind of broaden, but it's still kind of like our average customer. They're 30 years old, 29 point something. As I said, disproportionately male, but we have a better gender ratio than most stockbrokers, that's for sure. And they're kind of just starting on their investment journey, or maybe they have started, but they're not that well advanced in their maybe in their career or in their investment journey, and they're building their
£1,000, £5,000. Is that roughly the sort of area?
I think shy of 2,000 is the current average portfolio size. It's actually in the pitch deck on our Crowdcube page now. But we expect that's going to grow over time, and that's the big trend that we've seen as well, where you see cohorts, which is a bit jargony, but a group of people that signed up in, I don't know, let's say last year, May 2019. They actually have more money with us now as a cohort than they did before, and of course generating more revenue for us. So it's kind of what I said at the beginning, where you start and then you keep on going, and that's what we're here for. That's what we're built for, is people building a portfolio. So maybe you only have $1,000 to start, but hopefully in 10 years, you're 100 grand or something, right?
Well, that'd be nice. But so let's just talk about long-term plans, because obviously at the moment it's a very sort of lean offering in the sense when you compare it to a Hargreaves Lansdown. Are you sort of planning to try and onboard things like SIPs, cash accounts, maybe a wider range of stocks, AIM stocks, that sort of thing, and go after that sort of older and I guess ultimately wealthier customer?
Yeah. So we're gonna have right now we only have a basic account, it's a general investment account, and an ISA, individual savings account. It's a tax wrapped account for non-UK people. And yeah, we'll have a pension product very soon. We're working hard on it right now. We'll have other account types that are specific to the UK, but then the big thing will be in the coming months, we'll be onboarding our European waitlist as well. And we're going to try and have the right account for every country as well. Not every country has an equivalent of an ISA, but a lot do. And that's our kind of our focus for expansion is expanding geographically and to more countries.
And that hasn't been sort of pushed back because of COVID-19.
No. I mean, as I was saying before, COVID-19 was a kind of like a windfall for us in a way. It's made some things more difficult. Everyone's working remotely. We're seeing like massive increases on our infrastructure and all that stuff. But I mean, we built the tech ourselves, so it's working fine. So no, it's quite the opposite. I think a lot of people are at home right now, and they have some time on their hands to not just bake bread, but also think about their finances. Yeah. I know I'm like that too. You just kind of put it aside sometimes, and then okay, finally I have some time. I can actually dig into a little bit of a plan for what I want to do the next couple of years with my investments.
So you mentioned ISAs, and just to reiterate for the non-UK audience, these are I guess sort of the equivalent of a 401k in the US. It's a tax wrapped.
I lose track of the US stuff. I mean, I think it might be a Roth IRA that is the
right. Okay.
I don't know.
I think you're right.
It's the same as a TFSA, tax-free savings account. But yeah.
Absolutely. So anyway, to suffice to say, it's an enormous market. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of billions of pounds already in this sort of this tax-wrapped government product. What percentage of your users would you say are sort of ISA customers, and is that becoming a more popular sort of place for people to put their money? Obviously, you don't offer sort of ready-made portfolios. As the sort of the robo-advisors of the first generation of fintechs in the digital wealth space were offering. Are people sort of keen for ISAs on Freetrade?
Yeah. Yeah, they are. So about just shy of 20% right now have an ISA account. The funny thing about ISAs is they're really not useful unless you have a certain size of portfolio, because in the UK you have an exemption on dividends and capital gains tax to a certain level. So it's someone that has a portfolio already generally, or is really well paid, I guess. And that's changing over time. So we're seeing that increase. So I guess, if you're a typical user for Freetrade, maybe you start funding your account with a few £100. You started building that up, and then you'll graduate to that ISA account. And in the UK too, it's crazy. There's a thing called a cash ISA, and like, why on earth would anybody put their ISA allowance and a cash ISA right now with the current interest rate environment. I don't understand that. So make your money work, and that's what we can help with. That's what we try and help with. And to kind of address your question on the kind of pre-made portfolios, yeah, we will be offering something like that. It won't be in an advised portfolio, maybe in the future, but pretty soon we'll have kind of pre-made, pre-mixed portfolios for you. But you can buy investment trusts on listed investment trusts. Those are kind of diversified, actively managed funds in a way, but they're structured as a trust. We have lots of ETFs. That's most of my portfolio is just ETFs, passive ETFs, really, really low fees, give you exposure to the whole stock market in one go. So there's a lot of options on our platform. Just anything really that's listed on the stock exchange you can buy without having to pay a commission.
So obviously, as you already mentioned, it seems to be that the likes of yourselves and others in the sort of savings and investment sector are benefiting to some extent from the COVID-19 period. But would you, for let's say new fintech entrepreneurs out there, what advice would you give them during this period? What have you found that's really valuable as an entrepreneur, who's obviously raising money and very successfully at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to not give general advice, but there's a lot for entrepreneurs right now. It's a tough place to be when you're in certain industries, right? There's a lot of talk about the government providing support and whatnot. It looks like the government's not really going to do that for startups in the UK. And what we've done is we've raised money from our customers that believe in us and our product, and that's worked really well for us. I don't know that it would work that well for some businesses, but if you're consumer facing and you have customers, Crowdcube or Seedrs in the UK, both of them are great platforms. That's what I would recommend. I think that there's still a lot of demand for that. We're not seeing any slowdown. I think Luke, one of the co-founders at Crowdcube, he was telling me that they did see a drop in March, but it's basically back to normal now. And now that we're on there, it's going to be better than last year, right?
So, I mean, would you say that, and this was obviously a big topic in the last session, that there might be, waves of consolidation? Is that something that you would ever be involved with? Obviously owing to lots of fintechs struggling perhaps to raise money who aren't in that sort of
I mean, I saw that press too. There will be inevitably some companies that will have to go under. That's part of capitalism. Are we looking for acquisition targets? No. Are people approaching us about acquiring us? Sometimes. But that's not something that we're focused on. We're focused on just building a really large business that helps a lot of people invest. And I think you'll see us on the stock market at some point under our own ticker. Maybe not next year, maybe the year after. I don't know. We'll see. But I think that's where Freetrade's going. We don't have any plans to sell to Barclays or something like that. That would be horrible.
Okay, great. Well, I said we'd come back to sort of funding sort of in detail. We do have a question from the audience from Lawrence Maynard. I think I could answer this, but let me just read out in full. Do you have any existing VC investors on board? And what are your future funding plans post the Crowdcube raise and the launch today? I think you've already got at least one VC on board, Draper Esprit. But
Yeah, it's
talk
funny.
us about your long-term
I know
plans.
that name. I know Lawrence. Lawrence is an early shareholder of Freetrade, crowdfunding investor. Great guy. We kind of hit the limit of what we could do with crowdfunding last year. So there's a limit imposed by the EU on like how much you can raise without putting out a prospectus, which is a pretty onerous document that you would normally only issue for an IPO. So that was the right time for Freetrade to bring a VC investor on board. I think we chose the right one for us, which is Draper Esprit. They're also the largest shareholder of Crowdcube. They have some shares in Cedars. They get crowdfunding. It was not an issue when I went to them before this round saying, I want to do this as a pure crowdfunding round. Please waive your preemption rights. It's like, great. No, we'd love to have more shareholders that are customers. And we also have another guy joining our board who's going to be doing a similar thing to this. Tomorrow we do these Ask Me Anythings on video, Perry, and he's actually currently his like day job, I guess, is a VC at Augmentum FinTech. So on my board, I have two senior partners at the two listed venture capital funds in London. So we don't have like an aversion to VCs, but we also know what's the most important, which is our customers. And there's nothing better than having your customer as your shareholder.
Interesting. So obviously you touched on that ultimately being a listed business is the end goal. I'm sure to get there, revenues are key to that, as are acquiring more customers. Could you just talk us through, the strategy, the road to an IPO within those two important metrics? What are you going to do to be boosting revenues, and what are you going to be doing to acquiring customers?
Yeah, so on revenues, it's always been the first question is like, okay, fine, free commission free. How do you make money? So we have a freemium model that if you're just getting started with download the app, you can get going. You don't have to pay any fees or anything like that. We have a premium kind of account type that's shipping next month, rolling out, I should say, to customers, Freetrade Plus. You get some more features in there. And we also make money like other stockbrokers. You buy foreign securities. There is an FX a little bit. We benchmark against TransferWise rather than the banks that kind of rip you off. There's interest on client money. There's a whole load of ways that stockbrokers make money that most people aren't necessarily aware of. And that's why you see over in the States now, basically every retail stockbroker has dropped their commissions to zero, thanks to Robinhood over there. Will we see that over here eventually? I think they will have to. There's no justification for charging £12 for a trade. And I think we have the technology behind it that allows our costs to be less, but 12, I don't know about that. We have lower costs, we have lower revenue, the margins are still good. This industry that we're in is a very, very high margin business. We're talking like 90% plus gross margins that other software businesses would be jealous of. So there's a lot of room there to come in with a bit more aggressive pricing, but still make money as a business, because that's ultimately what we are. We're not a charity.
Sure. And obviously you mentioned £12 trades. I mean, I could only guess you're referring to Hargreaves Lansdown, and very much a disruptive company, I guess, in its own right. I haven't checked its market cap for a while. Yeah, but we're talking 7.5 billion market cap or something around that. Incredibly cash generative company. Are you sort of prepped for a price war? They obviously currently charge £12 per trade, but as I say, we make a lot of money. Do you anticipate that could come quite soon? A bit of a price war.
No, I don't see it as a price war. I mean, we charge 0 commissions unless you're going to start paying people to do trades. There's not really much.
I meant them cutting their prices.
Oh, okay, them cutting their prices. Sure. Maybe. We've seen some reduction in those fees from some of our other competitors as well. Ultimately, though, I think if you were trying to decide between maybe an incumbent stockbroker and Freetrade, at least the price, let's say that's not even an issue. Which one do you prefer? And I think if you asked our customers, 100% of them would say, I still prefer the Freetrade app than using a legacy stockbroker. So ultimately, yeah.
Sure. A couple of minutes left. I just want to ask a quick question from Martin Ward, who I must say is the name of my old drama teacher. So I'm not sure it's him, but how will you vary your marketing approach, if at all, when rolling out in Europe?
That's a good question that I don't really have a good answer for right now. So what we do is we go in these things with a bit of an open mind and try and learn. And that's what we did in January. We just started rolling out to European customers, so in Ireland and the Netherlands. And we've certainly learned a lot that we didn't really anticipate before, whether that was just even doing a KYC, know your client check, addresses work differently, all that kind of stuff. I think the core.
Adam, sorry to interrupt, but I'm just to say that we're moving on to the next session. But very, very interesting to talk to you, and obviously very good luck with the rest of the raise. Seems like it's going very well so far.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. Sorry we ran out of time.